Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Today in DDCDP 23 and JavaScript day 11 we will study ES6 modules, NPM packages and setting up Vite. This is known as, it is pronounced Vite, V-E-E-T, okay? But by instinct maybe you are going to pronounce it as white, but it is Vite. So these are the three things we will be studying today. So let's dive in. I already have created a project in VS Code, which is having 3 files, index.html and 3 JavaScript files. So far we have been using just one script file in our HTML, but in a very large application, and prior to 2015 there used to be a list of script tags, maybe some external JavaScript libraries and all. So here is how it looked. For example, I just want to include all these 3 script tags. This is script 1, and let us copy and paste 2 and 3. So similarly we could have even 20-30 script tags, all of them doing their own stuff, and this is how it has always been. But after 2015 we have ES6 modules which we will study today. So for example, if the last one, even the order mattered, so maybe at times, for example, libraries like jQuery, if you have heard name of, and other stuff, you would first include those and then you would write your own JavaScript. So for example, let us have some variable in script 3. I will define const age is equal to 15, for example. So it has been defined in script 3, but if I console.log it in script.js, do you think it will be available?
No.
Age, and we have included all the 3 files here, okay? Script 3, 2 and this one. So if I console open it in the browser and just check if it is available or not. So it is available because we have linked them, and the script, all the individual scripts are in one file. So whatever is defined here, it is global. For example, if it is a global variable, it will be available in script.js or script2.js and so on. This is the normal way. This used to be the normal way before 2015 or ES6, okay? So it has a lot of danger associated as well. For example, you might define a variable in this which you don't want to overwrite in this, but it would be overridden somehow. So the JavaScript community thought they should have some control over all these scripts, okay, rather than including all the scripts like this. And the variable, there is a danger of variable mixing and overrides and all, okay? So what they had decided was to introduce ES6 modules. So what ES6 modules are, we don't need to include all the JavaScript here, because for example, if I have some variable in script 3 which is age 15, and in script 2 let us have another variable const language equals JavaScript, okay? So these 2 variables, which is script 2 and script 3, have separate variables, but they are known and applicable in script.js also. Why not we should have some control over these variables, so that if I define some variable here it should only be available here so that it is not leaked outside. Similarly, if I create some variable in script 2, it should only be native to this file and should not leak. And you would have to believe that in a very large JavaScript application there can be hundreds and thousands of files. Okay, so just imagine if these variables get mixed, and then it will be a nightmare. So what they did was introduce ES6 modules, and what it does is it sort of acts like functions. Just like function has a scope, for example, I have a function something, so whatever we define here remains only inside the functions, right? The variables, we have a class on scope. Similarly, in ES6 modules, each file actually is called a module, you can say. So each file has variables which are only native to that file only. So for example, if I create this const age is equal to 15 in script 3, in ES6 this will only be known to this file. So what change we need to do, so that we change the setup to ES6. So what we can add one extra parameter, and that is called type is equal to module. What? Type is equal to module. Here also type is equal to module, and type is equal to module. Okay, now my question is, as we have included all the three modules here, do you think now that the script.js where we have written this code, console.log age, which is coming from the script 3, will it be available now?
No, sir, because every script will have its own scope.
Exactly. So every script has now its own scope, and you can see age is not defined. Okay, so we have solved one problem, and that is we have now separate files for variables, and only those variables which are defined in that particular file will be available inside that, otherwise it won't be leaking out of the file. So that's, now we just need to have one file like this, and it is normally known as entry point to the application. So I have deleted the two extra ones, and this is the entry, or main.js or index.js or main, whatever you call it. Okay, so normally in an HTML file there will be just one file, .script.js, and the code here is we are console.logging age, which is not available now. So the age variable has been defined here. So what should I do now so that this age variable becomes available in script.js? What I can do is, if you define a variable, we have defined this variable. Okay, so the last line should be export age. So export age means that from this file you should export this variable, and it should be in the curly brackets, and this is known as named export. What? Named export. So for example, if there is another variable const, what can be the variable here? So const I color, for example, equals green. This is the second variable, and right now I am only exporting one variable. So if I need to export this also, comma and I color. Now this file has allowed its variable to be exported. Okay, it means other files can import it. Other files can import. So in script.js here, in script.js what you will do is import what? If you need to import both variables age and eye color from, so you can use both of these. Otherwise, if you just need age, for example, if you just need the age variable in script.js, what you will do, import this age from the file name, so it is dot script3.js. okay, so now this variable which was exported from the script3.js has become available in script.js. And if I refresh the page index.html, now it is console.logging it. It means the variable has been exported from the source file into this one, and here it has been imported. So it's a two-step process. One, the you will declare a variable and then export it. If there are more than one variables or whatever, so you need to enclose them in these brackets. But on the other hand, if you are going to use them in other file, here you can import it. Okay, that's how there will be no collision, and only on demand you can import and export variables if you need. Okay, you can also directly, for example, in script 2 I have defined const language is equal to this. So if you need to just export one file, if you need to export one variable or function or whatever from a file, so you can directly do something like this, export default and the name of the variable, so it is language. What does this mean? Previously in script 3 we have exported these two variables like this, there is no default word. But in script 2 there is a default keyword, export default language. It means that this file script2.js has a variable this, and we want to export it as a default variable. So if in case I need language variable in script.js, here I will do one more thing, import. Here I don't need to do language from this script2.js. What I will do is I will just without it import language from this. Why? Because from this file there is only one variable which is default, so automatically that default will be inside this then. So if I console.log language, it will now be available.
If we are exporting more than one variable, we don't have to use default.
No, if you want one file to have a variable which you want to have it to be exported as default, only then. For example, you have a file edition.js and it has a function edition, and you want that edition function to be exported as default from that file. So you just need to export it as default, and you will then have to import. You know the only default is this. So if we console.log it now, we have the JS available. So let us recap. In script 2 we have a variable language and we want it to be exported as default. Not now, for example, I also want another variable which is sport is equal to badminton. Okay, and const library equal to jQuery. For example, these are two extra variables. One of them is language, which is being exported as default, but other two are other variables. So what we can do is export, and inside these two we can sport and library. Got it? So now these are two exports. One is default and one is like this object
Named export.
named export. Okay, so here in script.js, if in case I need both the language is inside script 2 as a default, but I also, for example, need library also. So what I can do is import language comma, and here you will use library like this. So this is named import, because of the name export you can import it like this, and this is
Default export.
default export. So if you see something like this somewhere, it means this is a default and this is named. And now here I can console.log library. So it is now available here. Is this clear? You can export functions also, you can export classes also, whatever. Okay, so for example, we have a class, let us create a class.js file. Okay, and we will have class, say, edition. And we have some method add, for example. Return a plus b. Okay, so this is a class and it is only now available inside this class.js, but for some reason I want it to be exportable so that this can be imported in other files also. So what I will do, I have two options. If normally in React and other frameworks these days, you have one class per one file per class. Okay, we can have multiple classes here, but this is one file, so we will make it as return export default. And what is the name of the edition? Okay, so it means this file has one class and we are exporting it as default. Now let us have it to variables. Okay, so in script.js, for example, if I need this class, what I will do, import edition from, and these days editors are intelligent enough to even complete for you the froms. Okay, so it helped me pick edition, and then .class.js was added automatically. Now this class is available here, and if I just const new edition equals new edition, because it is available, that's why. And edition dot add is a method 4546. What it will return? 10. That's it. So now we can use it. If I console.log new edition, console.log new edition dot add this, so what it will be? 10. Okay, so what we did, we created a class.js, created just a simple class in it with the method a and b, and it returns a plus b, and we exported it as a default. So here in script.js we imported it, import edition from this. So this is now that class which was exported, and we initialized it and just used it. Is it clear? Just imagine if we remove all the if we remove this type module again and link all the files, so all of these variables will be accessible and mixed and at the end of the day, maybe 1 month later on, you won't have a clue of what every file is doing. So you have broken all of your variables into these, and they are being, for example, let me give you a simple example. Let us create another file and we will call it api.js, just an example. So here I will const api and point equals, say, http something.com. okay, so wherever you have to use this api and export it as default. So wherever you have to use this api call, you will import in that file. So import api endpoint from api.js. So maybe you have used this variable in 1000 places and you have to change it for some reasons. So what you will do, you will just change this and the api. For example, the api documentation now says that you need to use this address. So you have just one place to change, and it has been used everywhere else wherever it is needed. Okay, even you can use as with it, just like in SQL you do as API 2, for example. How is it photo? There is a documentation page, ES, and that is very helpful. You can read about all this yourself. And let me come down. Just
inside curly braces.
okay, this is a section renaming imports and exports. Okay, so even if you have a variable, let me just zoom it in. If in a file you have a variable which is differently named, but you want it to be exported as some different stuff, so you can do something like this: export this as this function as this, and then in your imports you can just import it like this from this. And also you can rename your imports like these: function 1 as this, function 2 as this. So then in your file it will be available as this. Renaming default imports. I was just searching for renaming default imports. So renaming default imports in ES6 modules. Okay, so the advantage of so let's quickly do it. We don't need as in default import. So for example, if I need to import API, so API and, for example, I call it API end from api.js. So this is now the default import is this. If I console.log API and what it will be, the same variable, because we are exporting it as default, and the name of the variable is API endpoint. If I don't rename it, for example here, if I just use it like this, API endpoint, this one, so by default it will be this, okay. But if I want to rename it, so if it is a default import, what I can do is I can name it anything here, API and, for example, API and, okay. So since we have a default import from api.js, so that variable is saved in this here automatically. But if you need to rename named imports, for example, this is a library, it is importing library variable from script2.js. So if I go to script2.js, this is the library jQuery, and we are exporting it as named exports, okay. I need to rename library here. For example, maybe I have another variable here, so I don't want to use the library variable. So what I will do is I will use as with it and just the renamed version of it. So library as lib. So now it will import the library variable, but it has been renamed in this file as lib. So now I will use lib instead of library. Is this clear? So any variable, if you need to rename it, if it is named variable, you will use library as lib. Inside the curly braces you will use as. But if it is a default variable, what you can do is you can just use that variable, so it knows the default variable is whatever, it will rename it to this one. Is this clear? So if I just check console.log, it is doing what we were expecting. So one clue or one trick I should say, if I go to cnn.com, how many of you have ever used network tab in your console.log? Sorry,
check the speed of internet.
Yeah, so if you click on the network tab, it has all these things here. How can I get to, maybe it's a zooming problem probably. No, it's this. Okay, these are all the files from here, from the start to the end. These are all the files or images or JavaScript files or CSS files, okay. You can check any website for that, and if you can see, it is 345 requests. In this corner you can see 345 requests. So what a browser does is, for example, I just ran cnn.com, so all these individual files are separate HTTP requests. So for example, this is a min.js file, this is min.js file. Browser sees this, it sends a request, and the server responds with this file. Then it sees this file, it sends a request. So a total of 347 requests have been made in just one URL, cnn.com. So normally it is advised to minimize these requests so that a website is faster, okay. Maybe there are 20 JavaScript files in your browser, for example, in your HTML. So if you issue a website URL and you somebody issues a website URL of your website, say example.com, and it has 20 JavaScript files and 20 CSS files. So how many requests these are? 40. 40 requests within one main request. Okay, so it slows down your website. So if we access the network tab, this is the network tab of our application right now. So it has 8 requests right now. One of them is these are not relevant to us, but the ones relevant to us are script.js, script3 and script2. These are still requests, and class.js and api.js. Can you see? So these are separate files still, though we are using ES6 modules. So your browser requests them separately. So this is at least 5 extra or 4 extra HTTP requests. So it takes time. Why not bundle all this JavaScript into one file, and then it will send one request only. So just like in database normalization, we have a lot of tables, but then for joins we create some reports, we use joins. Similarly, if we have a lot of files now, JavaScript files, we should try at least to minimize the number of files, and there are tools for that which we will study now. So right now the main script is, this is our code in script, very simple, for example, but it includes all these excuse me, these files also. So 1 2 3 4 5 requests, extra requests are being made to the server. If I include all of it into one file, script.js, all the code so it will then be one file only, or one request only. So it will minimize the amount of time on the server. So there are many such tools, and modern JavaScript uses all of them, but we will use Vite. There is Webpack, you might have heard of, and many similar tools, but Vite is very much in these days, and they claim to have very fast response. Vite, this is what we are going to study. So here what the advantage of Vite will be, we want Vite to bundle all this for us into one file, so that there is just one request made. Got it? There are many ways of doing it, but I will do it manually at the moment. Okay, so you know of terminal in the VS Code also, and you can go directly from your command line also. But here, if you see, we are in the same folder now where this code is. Okay, so what I will do is I will run a command npm init. npm is node package manager. So if you haven't installed node, so maybe this command won't be working, but you need to install node in your laptops. After that, you will just run npm init. So it will ask you a few questions, and after that, here a file will be created. So npm init, or click this. So here it asks you for package name. So I will call it say ddcdp, whatever. Then version, you can have version also. Then the description, we are going to use it for bundling or JS files or anything. Okay, then the entry point. So entry point means the main JavaScript file. So it is script.js. Okay, because all the individual JavaScript files will have to do something with this. So script.js is the entry point. Right now we will do it manually and just keep on entering things, and author is say my name, and that's it. License is this okay? It shows you and you will say yes. So you can see it has created a package.json file. So if you just run the command npm init, it will create this package.json file for you. If I just open it now, so it has just those names. Name is DTCP which we gave, version is this, description is this, main is script.js, and scripts is this, and author is this. And so this is just a JSON file for now, nothing else. Okay, so what npm init does, it creates this package.json file for you. If for example you are just copying this package.json file from some other project already, so you will just copy it, you just don't need to run npm init. Okay, now we need Vite, and Vite as a dev dependency. Dev means we don't want to include all the code of Vite in our script.js, the code actually, we just want to use it. So you will use npm install, this is a command, and just focus on package.json, okay, file. So npm install Vite at latest, whatever is the latest version, install that for us. So npm is node package manager, install this. One thing you will note here, you will have a node modules folder created now, but just run this command npm install Vite at latest. So you can see if you open package.json file, it has dependencies this, but we have made a mistake. Actually I wanted it to be created as a dev dependency. So I will just remove this one for now, the dependencies. Let us redo it, and we will delete the node modules folder also for now. Okay, so here I will just run npm install Vite at latest -d. So -d means dev dependencies. It will only be used during development, not in production. Once you are going to go live, you won't have to use this Vite. This is only for development purposes, that's why. So now the key is dev dependencies. Okay, so you can manually also add this line. For example, if you don't want to run npm run install Vite, and look, you can see just for this one command it has created node_module folder also, and it has so much inside it, a lot of stuff, but we will get back to that later on. That's not our concern. Our main concern was to just use to create Vite, this one. Okay, and one thing now, and that is here we will create a few scripts. Script means commands which you need to run. So for example, one is dev, this one, it is Vite dev, Vite build. If you forget the commands, you can always go to documentation, getting started, and then you have vanilla. Vanilla means vanilla JavaScript, I mean without any framework. And if you open the package.json, so here, okay, just Vite will means you have a dev version. If you Vite build, it means, let me just zoom it in. So rather, let us quickly copy these three. dev is for Vite. This is a command. So if I just copy these 3 lines here, dev Vite build, Vite build, and preview is this. Now we will go into details of these 3. That's it. Now if I run npm, focus on this this file panel also. Here you will see something created. So npm, this is the command. We can name it anything here. For example, I will call it Drupal. So now if I run Drupal, it will mean this command. If I run build, it will mean this command to the right. So let us call it dev for now. So npm, and then you write run and this dev. So npm run dev here. npm run dev will create a server also for you, this one, localhost 5174. Okay, so if I open it, so on localhost 5174, if I just check console.log now, so I have all that code here which was previously there. So all the code is here, but what is happening actually? That's the main difference. It has bundled all the JS files. Okay, so during development you can run now this URL, this one, just like the VS Code live URL. So now you can just run this localhost, sorry, where is this? Okay, it's in VS Code, sorry. Okay, so this URL is now for your project, just like you had previously in VS Code. You have a live server. Now you can run this, and if I control Z it, I'm back into the command line. Okay, the next command is build. Build is for example, you have completed your website and now you want to make it live or move it to production. So what now you will do? You will just run npm, sorry, npm run and build. So it will run Vite build for us. So npm run build. Now notice the files on the left. Enter. So what extra has been created for us? A dist folder, this one. So dist is the folder it has created for us. The whole of your website now will be inside this dist folder. Distribution, it means distribution. So these all are your development files, and Vite has created this dist folder for us. If I open index.html, notice the HTML is the same, but here it has extra assets index this.js, some file it has created for us. And if I open assets and this index.this, this is that file in which it has bundled all the individual JavaScript files you had created. For example, script 1, 2, 3 and all. And you can see it has created some extra JavaScript also. But the main concern is that if you can come down to the last of the files, for example this, if you remember, we had created a variable API, and it has those files now here, and even the function. We had a class also. What was the name of the class? Edition. Can we see that class name here? It is the class name was edition, right? It had a function A. So even it minimizes your code. For example, my class name is such a long one, like this. So what it will do? It will make it class, for example, Z. It will use Z. So it has saved these many characters for you. Then even the spaces has some characters or so if I That is the, what was the API endpoint variable name? API endpoint, right?
Yes.
But here in this file, it is, if you go, this is, it is just F.
Sir, Alt C.
Alt C,
Alt C, sir, it will get.
Alt C, option. Okay, good. So it has compiled all this code for you from multiple files into one. This is minification, also called minification also. But most importantly, you can see these variable names. Even it has renamed the variable names for you. C is equal to 15. Language, it was the name of the language. The variable name was language, if you remember. Here it is L is equal to JS. So it shrinks your code, and at the same time it is running exactly like you expect it to be. Okay. So the main purpose of Vite or Webpack or any other is that it compiles or combines all of your individual files into something like this. And this is the norm for if you need to set up React.js. You might have heard name of, or all of these new frameworks, relatively newer frameworks. It does this through such steps. Okay. And if I issue the third command, which is, now this, if I just upload this to the some server, it will be running like an application. But if I come to package.json file again, and the third command is preview. So how should your live site be? So we can run this command preview. So it will be, if I control C, sorry. So if I just run npm and npm run preview, so it will now give me some other URL like this, and it will be exact copy of how it will look on the live side. So it is hopefully same stuff. So now, as a JavaScript developer, what your role is, you can create a lot of such JavaScript files, export them, import them where they are needed, and forget about combining them. Then you will have some setup like Vite, which will do all the, at the end of the day, do all the individual. So if I just check the live version, the preview version, this is the, and inspect it, and go to the network and refresh it. So now you can see, if you remember, we had 5 or 6 files which we had. Imagine your application has 100 or 1000 or 2000 files, but at the end of the day it has just one file now. So it will now send one request, and it has all your code. This is the power of something like Vite or Webpack. Okay, is this clear? Okay, now let us, if you notice, we have been running npm packages. Okay, so what are npm packages? If you Google node packages, okay, npm, it's a whole repository or library of JavaScript files. This is npm. For example, if I just run npm js.com, okay. So for example, you know of carousel now. What are carousels, right? So if I search carousel, so there are 4031 packages found as so if I ask you to just build a very stylish carousel for me, maybe you spend 1 week, and it will have a lot of errors and time consuming. But you just need to download something from here and use it in your code. So previously we had used it in script as script tags, where we what we had used, which glide. So maybe it has a package like glide, yes, So somewhere here we will have glide. This is that one. Okay, but right now I am going to search for faker. Faker is a famous this one. Search faker. It has the API documentation here. If I click on it, it will show you how to use it, blah blah. Okay, so faker is for creating fake content on your HTML. For example, you need a lot of paragraphs or some stuff, so you can use faker. It's a JavaScript library, simple JavaScript library which you can use. So rather than downloading it and then linking it here, script.js here in your index.html, if you download it and then you will have to link it here, just like previously we did for carousel. So what you can do is you can come to your terminal now in VS Code or your operating system, and here it will show you the command how to use it. Okay, so you will run this command npm. Now you know what npm is. Just like we installed Vite, we will now install faker. So installing means downloading it and placing it inside this node_modules folder. Right now if I open it, we don't have any folder for faker, but one of the power of npm installs is it knows if there are any dependencies, they will also be downloaded here automatically. Okay, so for example, if I just now need to run if I need to run this, so save dev is dash dev and this, so I will just copy it and go to the this. Okay, npm install dash dash save dash dev faker dash this and run it. Dash dash save dash this dev means dash d, which we used previously. Okay, so now it has downloaded it. If I go to the node modules, and you can see it has faker dash js. Okay, is this clear? Now how to use it? So for example, in my JavaScript file main script.js, I need to use it here. I need to use faker. I have downloaded it right now. I haven't yet used it. I need to use faker here. So it lets me use this ES6 modules, ESM. It has written ESM. This is what we need. This is common JS. This is the older version of using modules, but this is what we need. So what it is now doing, we will import faker. Now you know what this means. Okay, so it will import faker from this file. That's it. So we will just use it inside our script.js here. Maybe before this class, if you saw this command, you might not have a clue of what this does, but now you know what it should do. So import faker means now you have imported faker from this file, this library actually. Now if I console.log faker and let us do the dev version first. So npm run dev, and if I open this and inspect console, so this is the whole object actually. Okay, so for example, if I need to access something like say animal, so animal is an object. Now you know what it is. It has it's a function beer, and beer is this. Let us call this function what it does. Okay, for example, so animal, you can see animal is it object or yes, so animal, and then animal has beer in it. Okay, and beer is a function. So let us call faker dot animal dot beer. It should be very easy for you now. Okay, if you make any change automatically, so if I, what it is, giant panda, this is Now you just, for example, some random name you want to get, so it's just giant panda. Okay, if you go to documentation of Faker, I need some paragraphs, for example. So here it is, has a documentation link, this. Okay, so somewhere getting started guide, okay, that's the more detailed one, okay, of Faker. And Faker paragraph. This is the lorem one API. So it shows you the parameters which you can pass to the function. So, but for example, the faker.lorem.lines, faker.lorem.lines 2. Let me run this function, faker.lorem.lines. Let me zoom it in. So if console.log faker.lorem.lines, maybe let me make 100 lines. Okay, and if I come to this, so you can see in the documentation, in the console, you can see these lines. What if I want all these lines to become part of some div on the page? What can I do? I already have a div of class output on the page. So what I can do is, in your JavaScript file, you can just select it, const output div equals document dot query selector, and what it is, dot output, or maybe directly we can call .html, inner HTML, and its inner HTML should be what? Good, figure dot lorem.lines 100. That's it. Okay, figure out lorem.lines 100. So hopefully, if we check it in our browser, so we already have this on our page. Got it? So this is just an example of how to use an external NPM package in your own code. And now it has become so easy that you just need to run these commands here, npm install this, and there are thousands of packages like these which already have been created by some very proficient and able JavaScript developers, and we can just use them. Got it? So what we studied today, we studied what Node.js modules are, ES6 modules are. We had separate files and we combined them via imports and exports, and then we installed Vite, and then we installed Faker, so that we can have a grasp of what Node.js modules are. So that's for today. Thank you very much.